आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनकही कहानियाँ। आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनसुनी कहानियाँ। एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we bring you a podcast series on STEM popularization, science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, supported and catalyzed by the National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Government of India. This program is produced by Media for Community Foundation. Creative content and technical support is given by Purvasha Banerjee and Shushanto Das.
एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Vigyan Ki Awaaz podcast series aims to popularize new ideas of science and technology, which highlight STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. This brings to the surface the efforts and researches of Indian scientists, which is desired to bring a change in community learning and teaching, access to knowledge of resources, and social paradigms. Our goal is to spread the name of indigenous Indian research stories and their masters among the masses of society in a very easy manner. Bose Institute was set up in 1917 by Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, the founder of modern science in the Indian subcontinent. It is Asia's first modern research center devoted to interdisciplinary research and bears a century-old tradition. The institute was founded as not merely a laboratory but a temple, with its principal aims being the advancement of science and diffusion of knowledge. Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita, whose influence is reflected in the institute's emblem of Vajra, was significant in the setting up of the institute, and Rabindranath Tagore were among those who had consistently inspired and supported Jagadish Chandra Bose in his endeavors. Ever since the establishment of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India in May 1971, Bose Institute has been an autonomous grant-in-aid institution of DST. Over the last century, the institute has endlessly strived to preserve the legacy of its illustrious founder. In this podcast, we are happy to present Dr. Shubho Chaudhuri from Bose Institute. His research work has a major focus on many issues related to corps. But before going into more details about his research work, let us hear from his own voice about his academic journey.
I am Shubho Chaudhuri. I joined Bose Institute in 2009, and before that I did my master's in biochemistry from Calcutta University. After that, I spent almost 9 years in US doing postdoctoral research, and from my PhD, I was involved in plant science, although my background is chemistry, but I selected plant science for my research only. And after joining Bose Institute, I stick to plant science and mostly doing plant biochemistry and molecular biology. Well, like all my friends, I am also involved in, my research is involved in improving crops. And there are 2 projects which are going on right now in my lab. One is on pollen development I'll come to you why pollen development is important. And another is on rice plants, which is on the environmental stress, salinity, and cold stress.
Dr. Shubho Chaudhuri shares some interesting information regarding his area of research.
I will mostly focus on rice because rice, we all know, it's a very staple food. And in India, most of the people, they eat rice. And India being an agriculture country where most of the places you see the rice is grown. So rice, there are actually two very important problems in terms of the environment. One is the salinity, because the salt content of the water as well as the soil is increasing. So this actually is a detrimental for the plant growth, especially for the rice. We need a lot of water for the plant, for the rice growing. And because of this salinity, mostly the plant growth, rice growth, as well as the grain filling is very much affected. So it's a very long-term goal to have a rice which can actually grow in less water so that they have less salinity and they can survive and they can give good yield. So that is the two very good aspect I am talking about. One is the growth in presence of the salt water and also the yield. So these are the two very important issues when you do rice research. The another project which we are working is actually on the cold stress, is again a very detrimental effect, especially when the rice is grown in the seedling stage. We have the seedling generally die if the temperature drops. Generally the rice grow around 28 to 30 degree. And also the yield, that is the grain filling part, is also affected due to the cold stress. So cold stress, people, what I have learned from my research, that people who live in hilly areas as well as those who are in the northeast, they are having a very effect of this cold temperature, sudden decrease in the temperature, so they cannot grow rice. So there is always a possibility that if we can improve this cold tolerance, then we can actually help those people. Now, we heard a lot about genetic engineering. You can do genetic engineering in rice. People have done it. But my approach is a little bit different. It's not one gene or couple of genes, what we are talking about. I look the problem in a holistic way. How the whole plant is actually regulating this type of stress conditions, okay? So recently when people are started doing this genetic works, there is another very important field which came along with the genetic field is called epigenetic. So what is this epigenetic? Let me define in one word. We have genome. The rice plants like our human also have a genome. But this genome is modified in different level by different type of modification. This modification is not same from one rice variety to the other rice variety, to the third rice variety. If we take the genome, we have DNA, and since it is a eukaryotic genome, it has protein also. So this type of modification of DNA as well as the modification of protein, which is a specific protein called histones, actually help the whole DNA to wrap or unwrap in when you have transcription going on, when you have the coding RNA is coming out or the protein is coming out, okay? So these type of modifications are mostly environmental driven. So when we talk about environmental driven, I can give you an example. We see rice plants and we see some rice plants which are grown in the coastal area. Now we have two varieties which is known to all of us. One is Nona Bokra, another is Pokhale. So both these varieties are grown in the coastal area. So these type of rice, they survive the salinity because the coastal area water is completely saline. So why those plants are surviving, and when we grow the same rice in a different field where you don't have, where the rice variety, which is a high yielding variety, they are not being able to survive. The thing is, if you see the genome, both the genomes are same, almost 99%, okay? So the difference, what we figured out in our research, is there are changes in the modification of the genome. So that is my basic research area. Okay. So we are working on this particular field for almost like 10 years, 10, 12 years. We have tried to address the salinity as well as these modifications. We try to find out what type of genes are modified and where they are modified. Can we use those type of modification and then use the breeding approach to take the modified version back to the, is it possible? I don't know, is it possible or not? But that was the long-term goal.
Dr. Chaudhuri speaks on some interesting information regarding the tolerant rice and also shares some interesting information. How do they do it in their laboratories?
When we talk about this type of tolerant rice to even to the cold temperature or to salinity, the yield of this type of rice is very less. So the question comes when we have to feed so many people. So you have to transfer this information of the tolerant variety to a high yield variety so that the high yield variety gets some sort of tolerance to the environmental effects. So this is how we think. So in our research, we try to look for different rice varieties which shows to some extent the tolerance. And can we identify the reason for those tolerance, the mechanism of their stress response? And if we can take those information to a variety which gives huge amount of rice, the high yielding variety, and if we can modify that, then it will be good for us. That is actually the long-term goal. Right now, it is all in the laboratory. We try to study in detail the different rice varieties that we get from different lines, different, we call it landrace sometimes. The landrace means those plants which are grown in a particular area, okay, and we try to characterize them, why they are with all sort of molecular tools and high. Right now, the state-of-art technology is genomics and proteomics as well as transcriptomics, where we see the whole genome as a whole, the holistic approach. So we try to identify those genes, we try to see whether those are modified or there is some sort of difference between the normal rice we eat versus the tolerant variety, and then we take it. Right now it is all in the laboratory, and if we can modify those, then again my question is, if somehow by breeding approach or by genetic engineering, if we can modify those, then we have to see whether that modification is stable for multiple generation. If it is stable for multiple generation, then we can think of taking it to the next level, which is the field trial after having all biosafety papers as well as the regulations, and then we can take it to the accessions.
Dr. Chaudhuri speaks on our global contemporaries.
Any country which are eating rice is actually doing research in rice. Okay, not only China, you go to Philippines, there is a very big institute. We have Japan, we have Korea. You go to anywhere where these rice eating people, they do this type of research. But the difference between these two rice is actually, one is they generally eat Japonica rice, we stick to Indica rice. Now, if you take these two varieties, the Japonica rice are cold tolerant, because if you see their climates, the Chinese climates or Japanese climates, they are more towards the cold. There, the salinity is not a big issue. There, the cold temperature is a very big issue. So, in our case, our rice are grown in more tropical areas. So, that is actually, we are having this problem. But, as I said, people in the hilly area, northeast area, they also love to eat rice. So they also need a variety where they can grow throughout the season. So we need to study that culture.
Dr. Chaudhuri speaks about the position of India in the global context.
I will say very good, because rice research is not new to India. As I already said, India is a land of agriculture. We have doing this rice. Green Revolution is one of them, we all know. And maybe we need another Green Revolution to have now this type of climate resilience crop. So rice is one of them. And rice research in India, well, you start from anywhere or throughout the India. There's a lot of people working in the rice research. In our West Bengal, we have BCKV. There's our one seniors faculty is there, and I generally get those varieties from him because he has huge array of these rice varieties. We have published on this, I have, I think, 5 papers in this rice right now. So they are coming, they are well cited. People are citing our work. We feel good that yes, they are considering our work is also have potential.
We are thankful to Dr. Shubho Chaudhuri for providing us his valuable time.